Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. As you can see, I'm back in my trailer on another guitar retreat here in Belgium. It's midwinter, it's really cold outside, it's damp, it's wet, but I'm inside, it's warm, it's cozy, so I'm fine, I'm fine. I just want to give you a quick update about the fact that I just bought the Gigrig G3 switcher, looper, whatever you want to call it. And it's been an interesting journey to get to the point where I finally made the decision to buy this unit. Let me explain you, and maybe it will help you when you are doing the same. So maybe 10 years ago, I started getting back into my pedals. I've been playing around with rack units in the 90s, with the first digital molders at the end of the 90s until 2010. But when we started gigging again, like 10-12 years ago, I noticed that pedals for me was the way to go. So I had a sort of a collection of pedals that I wanted to use, and in those days the switching systems were really expensive. And when the Gigrig G2 came out, it didn't reach me here in Belgium. I didn't hear about it, and I wasn't really active in that field, so I didn't pick up the vibe about the Gigrig products. I missed it. So I bought a Boss ES8 and got really frustrated with the user interface. It did everything I needed to do then, but it was a nightmare to program. So the ES8 worked for me. It only had 8 loops, but all the MIDI implementation was there, and it did all the switching, and it worked fine until I accidentally plugged it into the speaker out of my amp, and I just fried the whole board. So that was gone. I bought, out of frustration, a really cheap one that you can buy in a couple of music stores here in Europe. Depending on where you buy it, it will have a different name. It's an 8-loop switcher, very basic. It does some MIDI stuff. It can switch your amp's channels. It's got 8 loops and it works, but it's just a switcher. It doesn't do anything else. So there I was, back on the market because I needed something more, well, professional. And then I looked at everything that was available to me here in Europe. I looked at most of the switches that you will probably know, from Korean manufacturers, Japanese, American, Italian, and English. I won't name them all, but I've done my homework, and I listed them, and they are between 650, 700 and 1,200 euros here in Belgium. So there's a like sort of 500 euro gap between the cheaper, less expensive one and the bigger investment. And I say a bigger investment, not as in the more expensive unit. You have to part with more cash for the dearer unit, but you buy something different. If you buy a 7-bedroom house in the country, you will pay more than if you buy a 2-bedroom flat in the country. So apples and apples. But there is a 500 euro difference between unit A and unit B. My unit A is the G3, the Gigrig G3. That's where my heart was, and that's the unit that I really wanted. But I wanted to make sure that my investment was sound, because at the end of the day, you also have to take care of your money. So I love Dan, and I love the whole Gigrig ecosystem. I met Dan a couple of years ago when I was at Guitar Breaks in Italy. You should definitely check out guitarbreaks.com. It's one of the most inspiring things you can do as a guitar player. I was there a couple of years ago. It was Dan, Mick, Danish Pete, and yeah, it's something special. So I got to know Dan. I really liked the guy. I really liked what he was doing with the Gigrig company. So I wanted to support that, and I wanted to be part of that family actually. But it was a big investment, and I needed to, as I said, take care of finances. And I felt I had to look at all the options on the market before I made my final decision. Now, how do you make a decision like that? Because the products are not really comparable. They do a similar thing. Some products are not as fully featured as others. So what I did, I used an acronym for that. It's called FIST, F-I-S-T, 4 characters. And I use that to build my decision upon. So let's look at the first one, F. That's features. Now, I had a wish list. I wanted the unit to have at least 9 loops. The ES8 only had 8, and I met the limitations of those 8 loops straight away. And of course, you can have 2 pedals in a loop. You can put some pedals in front of the ES8 or the switcher at the end of the switcher. But then again, you are increasing the chain where the signal goes through, and that's just not the idea of a switcher. You want the chain to be as short as possible. So I decided, no, I want more than 8 loops. 10 is okay. More is better. Not that I need more maybe now, but I would really love to have like a guest loop where I can test pedals. I wanted the unit to be high quality. I mean, what's the use of something that you have to return after a couple of months because there's something malfunctioning? No, I mean, been there, done that. I don't want that. I want full MIDI implementation. I want to be able to send control changes where with an expression pedal I can decide the range of control changes that I send to the MIDI device. I want it to be easy to use. I want decent support. And I want it to be, of course, a sensible investment. So first, features. So there is one unit, Unit A, that's the G3 for me, that offers everything on my wish list and more. Then there's other units that offer less. Now, how much are you, or am I, willing to pay to get the full feature list? And I understand that Unit B also has features. So we're not starting from zero. But the difference between a feature set that is not including everything you want and a feature set that has got everything. So how much am I willing to pay extra to go from B to A? To me, I value that 200 euros, cheap, 150 maybe. I mean, turn it around. If there's a unit A that's got everything you want and everything you can dream of, and there's unit B, you have to compromise. Now, how much does B need to be cheaper to convince you to not buy A? 20%? 15? 30? I value that really high. So, but let's make it 150. Then interface. Now, this is something I talked about before, really important to me. I want a unit that speaks to me in a language that I understand, with words. Not just with a 2 LED set where the M is not really part of the LED ecosystem, so it's sort of an upside down U, but you have to know that it's actually an M, and if there's a little dot at the bottom, you have to understand that this M means actually you're in MIDI mode, and then you have to press that switch twice, and then go in that menu. It says a little line on the top, that means you're actually going into the edit mode. I don't want that. I want a unit that speaks to me in words, like MIDI, like control change, like stompbox mode. I want these words to be something that I understand. And if I'm at a gig or at a rehearsal and you want to change something, that I actually can use words to get to the specific menu or submenu that I need to go. I want it to be easy. How much do I value that after all these years of reading crap? Let's say 150 again. Support and family. To me, even more important. Now, support and family, I mean, if you need something, if you have a question, that there is somebody physically in the world that you can turn to, ask the question and get an answer. Now, for all the units that I was looking at, all the brands, they all have a Facebook support group. The companies, not just a bunch of people who like that product, no, the company. I've sent messages to all of them in Korea, in Japan, in the States, in England, and in Italy. I've sent this very straightforward message, making sure that they would understand that I'm a potential customer and I'm very interested in their product, and I've got a question. Guess how many answers I got? One. I got one answer from the Gigrig. Nothing from Korea, Japan, the States. I did get feedback from the guys in Italy, but they are still in the prototype phase of their product. So it's not released. They're launching a Kickstart. Looks interesting, but it's not something that I can use right now. So I needed the unit now. So from everyone I contacted, just one company replied to me. Not just a company, also other guys who are on the support group that welcomed me and were eager to help me. So that is mega important. If I was in that market with a product and I would build something, and it would be with the distributors, and you don't need many, you need a distributor in Europe, in England, thanks to Brexit, in the States, in Japan, in Australia, I mean, a couple of key places in the world. The moment the product is there, I would be on social media all the time. I would be working, but social media would be on. And if there's a question that came in through my Facebook group, bang, I would respond immediately, because that's how you build support. That's how you build trust. This is how you get customers to be reassured about the purchase that they've made or they want to make. I would be there all the time. That would be my main job, making sure that people feel supported by the company. And then that support will generate extra support from the users. So you make your customers important to other customers. And then after a while, this starts living its own life. And then you can sit back a bit and look at the thing starting to come to life. So no, I don't want to work with a company that doesn't even respond to a question of a potential buyer. And I've left them at least 2 days before I made my judgment about the fact that they are not responding or responding. And then family. Once you're in that ecosystem, the next thing you want to look at is powering your pedals. Well, Gigrig have got you covered. I mean, they give you the generator with the G3 to start with, and then you straight away are thinking about the rest of the power system. So they got distributors, your isolators, adapters, and this is not upselling, this is helping you. At least that's how I feel it. They're not trying to sell you extra stuff because you're in that ecosystem and then it's easy to connect you to a different product. No, they're trying to help you. They offer you solutions. I don't feel like they're luring me in and then trying to upsell other stuff. That's not how I feel it. That's the family. The family is also when you pose a question on the Facebook group or any of the discussion forums, that you get a response from somebody that you may know or that you may admire. That is the family. Massively important to me. Support and family. How much is that worth? Well, I had to send so many products back over the last 20 years. I can't count them. Products that were defective, that I had to send back to God knows where. I mean, even the shipping, the time that it takes for a product, the problems that can occur with trying to get it sorted and under warranty. I mean, man, how much is that worth? Here's product A, full support. You need to have a question, bang, within 15 minutes you got an answer. And tips, and whatever. Here's another product, B. Well, support is, well, maybe if you're lucky and you ask your questions, we might respond to you in a week. Response might not be what you really want. And then if you ask another question, it might take us another week, and then you're 2 weeks further down the line. Really frustrating. Okay, and the last one, Fist T Timeproof. That's another one. I mean, G2 was released in 2013, give and take 7 years, before they released the next version. Some of the other products, I've noticed that they have a new version like almost every year. So how do you feel about a product that you buy and that from the moment you get it, the company is actually no longer working on that unit? They're already working on the next version, Mark 6, Mark 7. I mean, what you have just bought is a product that will not be supported for a very long time. It may be next year that they release the next version, the Mark 6, and then you're there with your Mark 5. I've seen reviews of some of these switches where people are talking about something and they're really excited and it's really good. And then I went to the website of the company and already there was a new version of that product. I'm not going to do that. I want to be sure that if I have to sell the unit in a couple of years for God knows what reason, I still get the biggest chunk of my money back because the unit is still relevant. It is still the main unit of that company. They still support it. They're doing updates. When you do an update for a product, it will sell more items. That's how it works. I mean, some of the modeling companies, like the bigger names, they've been doing that as well. Make sure that your system is as open as possible so that you can do all the updates that you want to do. The hardware will allow that. You release updates, you sell new items. The people, the earlier adopters, will be very happy because they got new software, they got the updates. Their unit is still the actual unit that they sell. New buyers feel confident because, this is a unit that's been on the market for a couple of years and it will be on the market for X number of years, and this is a new version, and I've got thousands of other people using it, have been using it, experience that can be shared, questions that can be answered if I needed to. So you're pleasing both parties. Now, how much is that worth? Unit A, full support, time-proof. It will last you at least 5, 6, 7 years, probably longer if you don't need any of the features that the maybe newer model will offer you in a couple of years. Or Unit B, that is no longer supported in 1 or 2 years. So there you go, guys. 4 parameters that I valued just for convenience at €150 each. So that's 600 euros. As I said in the beginning, the gap between the unit that has got everything I want and the less, because that's the cheapest version. It's not something in between. That was the cheapest option, was 500 euros less than the investment in the G3, the cheapest one. Take something in between, like something that would be 850. Then the gap is 350 euros between that one and the G3. And I just made a list that is worth at least 600 euros. So I'm actually cheaper off buying the G3 than anything else. Done deal. Right, guys, I hope you find this interesting or useful. Let me know in the comment sections why you did purchase maybe the G3 and maybe another unit and why. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.